Madonna is, hands down, the most influential female artist pop music has ever produced. And honestly, Queen of Pop still fits her better than it fits anyone else who's tried to claim the title since. But if you want to pinpoint the exact moment she went from promising newcomer to full-blown pop icon, you land right on her second album, Like a Virgin. This was the record where a scrappy, ambitious blonde from Detroit stopped being just another face in the pop scene and started becoming, well, Madonna. So how did it actually happen? Who was on her team pulling the strings behind the scenes? Where did songs like a Virgin and Material Girl even come from? And honestly, what was she actually like to work with back then? There's a lot going on here, so let's dig in. Rewind to late 1983. Madonna's debut album had dropped that August and was slowly inching up the charts, but she was still nowhere near the superstar she was clearly dead set on becoming. And here's the thing about Madonna. She was already thinking several moves ahead. She had big plans for album number 2, and the goal was clear: stop being that club singer and start being a legitimate pop artist. That same summer, producer Nile Rodgers happened to be at the Roxy, one of New York's legendary nightclubs, checking out a rising singer named Jenny Burton. Curious about the opening act, he asked around and found out it was some woman named Madonna, a name he'd already heard through the grapevine from her ex, Jelly Bean Benitez. Then she actually got on stage, and, according to Rodgers, it kind of threw him for a loop. She was dancing through this intricate routine while singing live at the same time, which, sure, that's totally normal now. But back then, that combo was basically the domain of black artists almost exclusively. He'd later say she reminded him of a young, provocative white Gladys Knight, which, yeah, quite the comparison. In his memoir, he admitted he genuinely didn't know what to make of her that night. He was curious, sure, but not sold yet. Now, on her debut, Madonna had mostly worked with producer Reggie Lucas, and that relationship left a bad taste in her mouth. She felt underestimated, like her ideas weren't being taken seriously. And here's the pressure she was under: she was only signed for 2 albums, meaning this next one was do or die for her career. So going into round 2, she wanted the wheel. She actually pitched producing the album herself, which Warner Brothers shut down almost instantly. As a consolation prize, though, they told her she could pick literally any producer she wanted. According to Classic Pop magazine, she wrote directly to Sire Records founder Seymour Stein, basically venting that she was tired of constantly being paired with male producers who didn't get her vision. Her wish list reportedly included names like Trevor Horn, Jelly Bean Benitez, Lori Latham, and Narada Michael Walden. But there was really only one name at the top: Nile Rodgers. Makes sense, honestly. She was obsessed with his work on Sister Sledge's records, not to mention everything he'd done with his own band, Chic. And at that exact moment, Rodgers wasn't just good. He was arguably the single hottest producer on the planet. In 1980, he produced Diana Ross's Diana, the album that gave us Upside Down and I'm Coming Out. Then, in '83, he produced David Bowie's Let's Dance, which became the biggest-selling album of Bowie's entire career. So we're talking about a guy at the absolute peak of his powers. And according to Seymour Stein's own memoir, it was actually Madonna who pushed to get Rodgers on board, not the other way around. She wanted him, badly. In interviews from that era, she flat out admitted she idolized him because of Chic, and that she could barely believe Warner was footing the bill to make it happen. Rodgers, for his part, negotiated himself a killer deal in the process. But we'll circle back to that. Sometime that same year, Madonna also picked up a new manager, and this wasn't just some industry rookie. This was Freddie DeMann, the guy who had just steered Michael Jackson through the entire Thriller phenomenon. Seymour Stein set up the meeting, hoping DeMann would take her on, and apparently, DeMann liked what he saw, because he said yes, and stuck around managing her for the next 15 years. So at this point, think about what she's got assembled: the hottest producer in music, and one of the sharpest managers in the business. The pieces were all in place for total pop domination. Before they even started recording, Madonna sat Rogers down and played him a batch of songs she'd been working on with her longtime collaborator, Stephen Bray. Rogers later described that meeting as pretty low-key on his end. He stayed quiet, kept his reactions to himself, and was really just trying to figure out how all these songs would fit together as a full album, rather than judging them one by one. He thought the material was catchy enough, but reminded himself his job was building a cohesive record, not just nodding along to individual tracks. Then, partway through, the energy in the room shifted completely. Madonna basically laid down the law. If he wasn't going to genuinely love every single song, this wasn't going to work. Rogers, to his credit, didn't sugarcoat it. He told her straight up that he didn't love everything yet, but promised her he would by the time they were done. Somehow, despite that slightly tense start, the two of them ended up becoming genuinely close friends throughout the recording process. Meanwhile, over at the Warner Brothers offices, songwriters Tom Kelly and Billy Steinberg were shopping around a brand new song they'd just finished called Like a Virgin, and not having much luck with it. A bunch of executives passed, mostly because the title struck them as too weird to fit any artist on their roster. Eventually, though, it landed in front of A&R exec Michael Austin, and he loved it on the spot. He just happened to have a meeting with Madonna scheduled for the very next day to talk about her second album, so he played it for her. And she was instantly hooked. Not just I'll take the song hooked either. On the spot, she decided it wasn't just going to be a track. It was going to be the lead single and the title of the entire album. Here's a fun detail people forget. Kelly and Steinberg weren't exactly big names at this point. Their one real credit was a minor hit called How Do I Make You, recorded by Linda Ronstadt back in 1980. But Like a Virgin changed everything for them. It kicked off an incredible run where they went on to write hit after hit, including So Emotional for Whitney Houston, True Colors and I Drove All Night for Cyndi Lauper, Eternal Flame for the Bangles, and I'll Stand By You for the Pretenders. Not a bad run for two guys who almost couldn't sell one weird little song. As for where the song actually came from, Billy Steinberg has said in interviews that it was inspired by coming out of a rough divorce. Originally, he pictured it as a slow ballad, but that version just didn't land. It wasn't until they messed around with a Motown-style bass line and started singing it in falsetto that everything clicked into place. There's also this widely repeated bit of trivia that it was partly inspired by Smokey Robinson's Virgin Man. And honestly, going in, Kelly and Steinberg weren't super confident about the song's chances. I mean, who's realistically going to record a song called Like a Virgin Turns Out? Madonna wasn't just anybody.